Good evening, good evening, good evening to you, my friends. This is going to be a good time and it's going to go by very, very fast. My name is Brian K McNeill. I'm the sales confidence coach. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you 5 things you can do tonight. It's now 9:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to give you 5 things you can do to ensure that you have a successful week this week selling yourself and your services. This is the third iteration. I've done it like the first time I did it was 2 years ago, and then I did an updated version last year. This is my third year doing this, and the time just seems right. Here we are in the middle of August. This is August the 13th at the time of this recording, and we got 4.5 months left to go in the year. And I want the rest of your year to be the most profitable time of your year. Yes, I do. I am the sales confidence coach, and there's some things I know that will ensure that you have a successful rest of the year. But tonight, we're going to focus on just 5 things you can do tonight to ensure that you're going to have a successful week selling your services. So welcome those of you who are already coming to the room. I won't punish the punctual. I'll get right to this thing. Number one thing you can do to ensure that you have a successful week selling you and your services this week, number one thing you can do is set your targets. Set your targets. Now, I only want you to set your targets in a few ways, just about 3 ways. I want you to set your targets. Maybe you've done it this way before, maybe you never have, but I'm going to encourage you to set your targets this way for this week. It's very, very difficult to hit a target that you can't see, and it's even more difficult to hit a target that you don't have. Number one way I want you to set, number one is 3 ways I want you to set your targets. The first one is, how many times this week will you tell your story? How many times this week will you tell someone who doesn't know what you do for a living, what you do for a living? How many times will you tell it to somebody new? You got 5 days ahead. Will you tell it to 1 new person a day, 2 new people a day? Will you tell it 3 times this week, 4 times this week, twice this week? And it really doesn't matter how many times you decide, but the important thing is that you do set a target. How many times will you tell your story? I do advocate that you tell your story. I do not advocate pitching. No pitching. Tell your story. How many times this week will you tell your story? Set a number. And if you're bold enough, put it in the chat right now. How many times will you commit to yourself as a target? How many times will you tell somebody new that you've never told your story to before? What do you do for a living? Well, for me, my story goes like this. You know how there are so many amazing entrepreneurs and salespeople that offer services that really, really do help people, but a lot of them don't earn nearly the money that they could or that they should. And very often, they don't earn that money simply because they don't know how to sell it well, or they're using antiquated selling methodologies. And what I do is I teach these entrepreneurs and salespeople what to say and what to do so they can sell themselves and their services better than they ever have before, so they can earn more money than ever before. That's my story. It took me right at 30 seconds to tell it. And you'll have your own story too. If you don't know how to tell your story or have a great story to tell, holler at your boy. I will help you build your story for free. Yes, I will. The first one I want you to set, first target I want you to set is, how many times will you tell your story? The second target I want you to set for this week that you can do tonight is, how many times will you offer your services? Now, telling your story is just telling someone what you do. Offering your services is where they know how much you charge and you're inviting them to give your services a try. Will you give my services a try? You're giving them a chance to say no to you. You're giving them a chance to say yes to you. How many times this calendar week will you offer your services? Or you're going to do it 1 a day, twice a week, whatever. But you do set a target. Again, it's not as important what the number is, but it's more important as that you set a target. And the third target I want you to set for yourself is, how much actual money you're going to earn this week. Set a money target. Set it a little bit higher than what you normally bring in. Set a money target. A beautiful thing happens to your brain and your subconscious mind when you set goals or targets. When you set a goal or target, your subconscious mind takes those as instructions, and your subconscious mind is a dutiful servant, and it will try to conspire your world so that you can hit these targets. Again, the 3 targets I want you to set this evening is: how many times will you tell your story this week? How many times will you offer your services this week? And how much money do you intend to earn? That's the first thing you can do. I'm giving you 5 things you can do. Number 1 was set targets. Those 3 areas. Number 2 is to follow up again. Yes, follow up again. There are some people that you know would be greatly benefited by you and your services, and you have followed up with them once or twice. I'm going to encourage you to follow up again this week. The ones that you want to be your clients. Follow up with those people again. Set that as a goal for this week. That's the second thing you can do to ensure you have a successful week selling your services. If you don't know who I am, I'm Brian K McNeill, and I am the Sales Confidence Coach. There's a reason why I have hundreds of testimonials. I literally do, both written down and video. There's a reason why I get booked to speak about how to sell yourself and your services. There's a reason why my 6 books on sales sell. So that's the second thing. The third thing is I want you to work for at least 3 hours a day. Work at least 3 hours a day. Now, some of you guys will hear that work only 3 hours a day. Please, I work 10 hours a day. I work 8 hours a day. I work 12 hours a day. I work 14 hours a day. You might put in time, you might be at work, but you're actually working. For the purposes of this, I'm only defining work in 4 areas. The time that you spend prospecting, presenting, following up, or studying. Time with your coach can be counted as studying. How much time you're going to spend each day. And I'm going to encourage you to spend 3 hours a day in those 4 areas. Prospecting, actually looking at someone that you can offer your services to. Presenting, actually showcasing and offering your services. Following up, how much time you're going to spend one of those 3 areas, all 3 of those areas, and studying. If you will do that, one of those 4 things, or a combination of those 4 things, an actual time of 3 hours a day, ensuring that you'll have a successful week. Why do I want you to do it 3 hours? Because the average salesperson in America still works an average of an hour and a half a day. 90 minutes, that's the average one. They might be at work 10 hours, but of the activities that earn them money, prospecting, presenting, closing, following up, delivering, or studying, those are the 6 activities that actually present money. They don't spend that much time doing it. They spend a lot of time preparing to do those things. They spend a lot of time funneling and branding and thinking and scrolling and putting and inputting in. Those things are good and they're important to do, but they're not yet money earning activities. They're preparing you to do money earning activities. And this particular week, I'm going to encourage you to spend at least 3 hours on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That's 15 hours a week I'm asking you to work. 15 hours I'm asking you to work this week. In the areas of prospecting, actively seeking someone to offer your services to, presenting, following up, or studying. That's the third thing. The fourth thing is to visit. Number 4. Number 1 was to set your targets, and I gave the areas. Number 2 was to follow up again. Number 3 was to work at least 3 hours a day. Number 4 is to visit at least one networking group. One networking meeting. And I'm not going to break, it can be either virtual or in person, but I'm going to encourage you to visit at least one networking event. The reason why I want you to do that, it might be 12 people in the room, it might be 20 people in the room, and they all will give you the time to tell your story to a group. You want to regularly tell your stories to a group. They'll give you 30 seconds, they'll give you a minute, they'll give you 2 minutes, whatever they give you. But it's another opportunity for you to showcase your stuff to at least one group this week. Number 4 on the 5 things you could do this night is to schedule yourself to visit at least one networking organization. And number 5, the 5th thing you could do now to ensure that you have a successful week is to schedule your own complimentary selling you and your services consultation with the Sales Confidence Coach. I'm the Sales Confidence Coach. I'll put a link in the chat. that you can actually schedule your time. It'll be about up to 30 minutes. That's all. And in that 30 minutes, I will pour into you some value that will help you to sell yourself and your services. I've got tons of reviews and testimonies that say within the first 30 minutes of working with Brian, it revolutionized my game. I got one that says in the first 9 minutes, he changed me from pitchy to actually persuasive. And I know I can do it for you too. So those are my 5 things I want to encourage you to do this evening to ensure that you have a successful week selling you and your services. Now, this is all dependent upon you actually wanting to have a successful week selling you and your services. Again, my name is Brian K McNeill. Thank you for joining me. I hope you found value in this brief talk. Have a beautiful rest of your evening.